There
Am
we
I
go.
disappointed that you only have one pair of glasses on?
Yes.
Oh, hold on.
I knew that was the
Need
first
the
thing
other
Lily was
pair?
going to ask.
I always have it right here. Hold on. Oh no. Of course I don't have any right away, but give me 2 seconds.
I mean, don't worry about it.
No, it is my signature.
Is it really? I was wondering where that came from.
Well,
It's so good.
I don't know if you could really call it my signature, but I feel like a lot of people would say Merill wears double glasses because it started when my glasses weren't strong enough. First of all, I'm farsighted and nearsighted, so I might as well be blind. But hi. Oh my gosh, you're so cute. So yeah, I just so for a while, in order to see you on Zoom, I had to have 2 pairs of glasses. But these are working. These are okay for right now.
Good. I picked up my son from school today, and another dad that was getting a kid at school. We like said hello to each other, and he was wearing not one but 2 glasses. He had seeing glasses on, and then sunglasses on top of those.
I do that all the time.
And he's a pretty like cool dude. He's a former professional basketball player. He's very tall. He dresses really well.
Cool dude move.
And I looked at him and I was like,
I started that trend.
I was like, wow. Is it just because now I'm seeing it everywhere? Because you know when you see something for the first time and then you see it everywhere? Like that. Exactly.
When I'm walking my dogs.
That's exactly how that's how he had it.
Yeah, because I can't actually see with these alone because they're not prescription, you know?
Right. So, and getting prescription sunglasses is a serious commitment. Because I
need to do it. I need to do it.
My husband pulled the trigger on that.
I did it once.
My husband did too.
$100-something at Warby Barbie.
And then you lost him.
Lost him within.
Called Warby Barbie.
Welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. We have with us a super duper hilarious, warm, wonderful, talented guest. We have with us comedian, comic, actor, writer, many other things, expert wearer of many glasses, Merill Davis, who I had the amazing opportunity to meet because she was one of the actors in Gay Haircut, the hilarious film that was at South by Southwest. You may remember from our previous episode where we got to interview Jude Harris and Krista Fatka, the director and writer star, and the team behind that. And Merill has, I wouldn't say a show stealing role, because I think everyone steals that whole show, but Merrill's one of the first characters you're introduced to in that film. And you can't help but immediately say, I want to know more about that person. And then I was lucky enough to be standing outside one of the movie theaters, and Merill was hanging out with Krista and Jude. And I feel like we became buddies, Merill, right away.
We did.
And I said something Jewish, and then Merill made that one of those all-knowing like things that only Jewish people get. I don't exactly remember. It was like a Hebrew school joke or something. And I immediately walked away from that saying Merill has to meet my real life sisters, Becky and Lily. So Merill, welcome to the family. Welcome to Friday.
I'm so honored. Really, I am. This is so awesome. Thank you for having me. And what a great introduction.
And this is, I mean, we're thrilled. You're so fun to hang out with. So let's start with comedy. Lily, Becky, and I love comedy. And I would say we've spent like a disproportionate amount talking to women in comedy over the last, like when we've talked to people about comedy, I feel like a lot of our guests are women in comedy. Is that right? Becky and Lily, you're giving me weird looks.
No. That's right. I was
okay, for sure.
Through it in my head.
You're like going through all of our, I'm like,
I just have a very expressive face.
And I have very funny daughters. I have extremely funny daughters. I think one of them might end up in comedy. And I'm so curious how you found your way to the world of being funny, which I would argue is 1,000 times harder than any kind of dramatic acting, because nailing a joke seems to be just one of the hardest things to do in the universe.
So I was at Sweetbriar College in Virginia, and I wanted to be an actor from very, very young. I just felt it, I mean, when people say that, you're like, really? And I never really, I always think that's like you know what I mean? It's like when people go,
they're like, oh, you must like
family, and you're like, you don't have a perfect family. Or when people say like, oh, I knew since I was 4, but I knew, I don't know what it was. I just knew I was going to do something, I don't know, big. And so, I mean, if you can call this big, I mean, I'm not.
I mean, you're on our podcast. It's pretty
but
big.
yeah, no, I didn't mean the podcast. Yeah.
I mean, it's big. Actually, I can't even say it's big with our parents. They'll listen to it like weeks later and then get super mad at us for all the things we say about
hilarious. Well, I auditioned for a play, and I didn't think I'd get in. This was my senior year there. But I'd been a history major because my parents and my grandparents were like, we have too many medical people in our family, so we need an attorney. And they didn't care what I wanted to do. It was not important. So, ow, I just hit my elbow. That's because we dad
talk with our hands.
Yeah, I do. I talk with my whole body. So anyway, I got in the play, and I played in Wendy Wasserstein's the Chronicles, the Heidi Chronicles. I played a lesbian physicist. And
I totally for a second thought you meant like Shirley Temple's Heidi, and I don't remember the lesbian physicist.
So funny. That's so funny. Well, I played her in a lot of ways. I played her just closer to how I am, which is, I'm super neurotic and anxious too. And I did dress like a very butchy lesbian, but then I also incorporated that she's super smart and that she's very uncomfortable in group settings. And a lot of the scenes are written that you're in this group, women's group of feminists, and they'd be considered feminazis today. Oh, I shouldn't even say that word because I don't like that word. Anyway,
we understand what you mean.
You know what I mean. Yeah. After I said that, I was like, okay, we're 4 Jews.
I feel like if anybody
can say it, it's probably
can mess around with the Nazis. It's us.
Okay. But anyway, I got laughs at almost every line I said, and I think that was the moment that I knew I'd been funny in my family. I was always the butt of the joke, and I had like a Betty White thing going where everybody made fun of me. And my sister was the funny one. And so I would copy stuff she'd say, and my dad would say, get your own material. And he had no idea that I was going to end up doing this. And then I'd get really mad, and he'd be like, save it for the stage. So he must have really.
I have to say, I will give my kids a hard time sometimes. Like not that I know anything about comedy, but sometimes I'll be like, timing, that wasn't, if you just done it a few minutes later or earlier, would have been funny. Or, you went back to the fart joke. Well, one too many times.
That's funny.
Yeah, well, I think your kids do like a good fart joke though. So.
I mean, farts, especially for kids, are funny. That's not really my cup of tea in terms of
you're like
comedy.
Super intelligent. Your comedy.
I mean, I'm just not into scatological. You're really intelligent, and I'm like scatagorical.
That's a fun game.
Later, yeah, exactly. So I realized that I was funny, and I had gotten in the play, and that gave me a sense of confidence. And then my parents were adamant that I go into law. So I just kind of kept appeasing them, and I stayed in the closet as someone who really wanted to be an actor. And the comedy didn't come until later because, well, basically I moved to Austin, Texas, because I was obsessed with Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger because they were doing a lot of independent films there. And so I had this plan that if I moved there and told my parents I'm going to go to UT and study law, but meanwhile, I had this plan that I'm going to be doing independent movies, and I'll get into movies and then they'll forget about it, So I took 2 semesters at a different school called St. Edward's. They had a good theater program. And I took 2 semesters there. And then I met this not great boyfriend, but he had plays going on that he cast me in. And then he applied to Cal Arts, which is out here. I don't know if you're familiar, but
yeah,
California Institute of the Arts. So I applied. I really didn't know anything about Cal Arts. I wasn't going to apply, but he said, if you go to theater school, then you'll graduate, you'll really know, and I was like, well, I already have a college degree, but all right. So I did 2 monologues. I flew out there by myself. And I knew nothing. I didn't know it was a Disney school. I didn't know Don Cheadle went there. I didn't know Ed Harris went there. I didn't know Tim Burton went there.
It's a big deal.
It's a major school. And it's actually very good that I had no idea.
Right. So especially with anxiety. It's better to know after the fact.
Totally. So I did a Shakespeare monologue. I'm on the plane, learning my lines. And then I did another one, I forgot what it was called, but anyway, it's not important. But the point is, they directed me in the audition and had me sit on my hands because I talk with my hands. And then just tears came down, they were doing a really good job of directing me. And that's a big test, even in anything you get cast in, is this person directable? Anyway, cut to, I got in and they were like, you look super young, so we don't want to put you in the master's program. Of course, my parents were pissed about that. And they were like, if you do the undergrad and you do 1 more year, you'll get out, you'll get an agent right away. Anyway, I went to school there. I did want to quit halfway through just to go to New York and get cast. It's just you want to get this moving, get the ball rolling. You're excited. Yeah.
Seems like there's a lot of waiting. Hurry up and wait.
Yeah. And then my first 2 years, I was starting to get cast in things, and the whole thing for me was can I do this? And if I can, I better be fucking great at it. And so I ended up, it turns out the 4 years was a good move, because I played, my junior year, I played a woman with cerebral palsy. And I did the whole thing. I did the Daniel Day-Lewis thing. I went to the hospital. I studied it. I studied everything about it. I sat with patients who had it. And then to this day, all my classmates still talk about that role I played. And I think when I do something, I want to go full out. And I was very inspired by, of course, Meryl Streep, Glenn Close, all of those actresses growing up. And then I was inspired by people like Peter Sellers and Robin Williams. And so I didn't even know I was going to end up in comedy. So cut to my senior year at Cal Arts. One of my classmates, Robert, was like, you're the class clown, and I'm going to do this amateur comedy night. And I'd really love for you to do stand-up. And I was like, no. And I was like, I'm a serious actress. I'm a dramatic actor. This is not going to happen.
That's so funny, because I have to say, if there's anything that is the most intimidating to me of any live performance art form, it seems to be stand-up.
So he talked me into it after I said no 5 times. And then I did it, and I was house sitting and pet sitting for this woman whose house might as well have not had a roof. The cats were sick. There were all sorts of other insects and shit in there. I literally slept in my car outside of her place, because I might as well have had a tent and slept outside. Oh my God. It was so gross. And I felt really bad for her cats. I wanted to steal her cats and give them a better life. But anyway, I just talked about that. And it wasn't funny because I didn't have jokes yet. But turned out I got a standing ovation, and it was a false standing ovation, because I found out later everyone was high. So that's not
an accurate barometer.
Does that count as you feel like that's a performance enhanced victory, as opposed to it
wasn't earned somehow?
You don't think it was earned?
No, because
Do you think, it's easy for people who are high to stand up?
I don't know. Well, that's a good question. But anyway, someone taped it for me, and then I got the tape. And at the time, I would go back and forth between LA and Cal Arts because, of course, at that point I was older than all of my classmates, and I got a place to live in LA. And so I had friends there, and I got invited to all the, Hollywood parties, and I made all of these famous friends. And then my friend was a voiceover agent at ICM. And one of his clients was this woman, Lisa Sunstedt, who at the time was writing for Chelsea Handler. I knew nothing. So I gave them this tape. It's so bad, I got to tell you. I'm sure I have it somewhere and can't watch it. It's probably unwatchable. But anyway, I gave it to him. And then Lisa was probably like, I don't even need to watch it. She's professional, just giving me a tape. And then she put me in her show called Pretty Funny Women. And I was already on a show with Natasha Leggero, Chelsea Handler.
Wow.
And that's what happens in comedy.
Wow.
You have no business being on these shows. You're like green as your background. And you have no
Shy has
business.
a green screen.
Your green screen. As your background, meaning like you're green at everything you've ever done. No, but anyway, I did a trial and error, my first set in my mind. So when you do comedy, that's also a completely, it's a big, God, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but I'll get there. But the point
Milestone?
is, no, it's deceiving.
Oh,
because if you get laughs, you think, oh, I'm funny, but that doesn't make you a good stand-up. If you don't have jokes, and also they're just laughing, courtesy laughs, throughout your set, they're just being nice. And sometimes people won't be, but sometimes people will be, they're just like, oh, I like her,
Yeah, or it's sometimes more awkward not to laugh. So you're just like,
yeah. And I mean, I did have some good jokes. I did end up taking a stand-up class, and they kind of divided us between people who had likability and good performance, energy and presence. And then
tell you that?
Who's the other? Wait,
who's
the other group then?
The writers. So they separate.
Who are funny but should not be in public.
Right.
On stage.
So they separate us, and then they put us in partnerships. And then the person that was helping you write your jokes was really doing the majority of the work. I mean, my dad was not like, he didn't know that much about the industry because he was a brain surgeon and he didn't care about entertainment. I mean, he loved movies, but he used to say like, it's so fake and all, and he's right. And when I told him I wanted to be an actor, he said, oh, you can't, we're not related to anybody. And so he was right. But long story short, too late. I learned how to eventually write, but my dad had told me in the beginning, you have to write, like that's all it is writing. And it is, it's 99.9% writing. If you are a good joke writer and you surprise the audience, that's your job. Your job is to surprise and make people laugh. And you can be the most charming person up there. You can be, I can think of comedians like, I don't know, I don't want to say any names, but some of them,
your professional courtesy,
some of them are very good at garnering fans and garnering an audience, and the audience doesn't care because they're not really like savvy audience members. I mean, audiences are smart, but if they like a certain person, it's not important to them what their joke structure is, or if their punchlines are super funny, or if you've heard that material, back in the 70s about women eating salads and men eating meals that are bigger than salad. I mean, we've moved past these things, and some comedians are still doing that kind of material.
I will say, I won't say who it was, but Allie and I, my wife, caught a stand-up thing during South by Southwest in Austin, and everyone was pretty excellent and funny and surprising, but there was one dude who it felt like he was and he was my age, maybe younger, doing the my girlfriend wants me to clean up the house kind of stuff that felt like it was left over from a very long time.
From another time, right? From the 90s,
We were like,
80s. But yeah, I think that I learned, it took me a long time to, those initial jokes that I got with the writer, those were really good jokes. And I still have some that I use from time to time from those because they're so good. But I think what happens is you evolve and you get better, and it's sort of like inside baseball, you know, when you've been inside the world of comedy for so long, and you start to really admire people who are doing really different things and really taking it to another level. And then what happens is, you know, they become favorites, and then you know what the industry wants or is looking for, but then you don't want to cater to that because you want to still stay true to what's important to you to talk about or what's funny to you. So eventually I think I found my voice, and I learned how to really write jokes. And then I think that makes you a stronger actor because, you know, it all happened by accident, but it ended up being so wonderful for me because then I learned how to write, I learned how to direct. And, you know, when you're a stand-up, you're doing all of it. You're producing, you're directing, you're marketing, you're performing, you're doing everything. And so, you know, I always say that stand-up is like the brain surgery of performing because you really are at the top of the top. Like that's, if you can do all those things and do them well, then you can make all sorts of streams of income. You can write a book and sell your book, and you can write New York Times bestsellers, and you can write scripts and sell your scripts, and you can write for television, you can write for late night, and you can act in your own movies or your own, you know, and then you get cast in other things. And, you know, there's just so much that you get to do. And so it's very awesome. And I became a better actor because of it.
That's so cool. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So you talked about, I think we all love comics. My sisters and I have gone to see many over the years, and I definitely have some upcoming fun plans that I'm excited about.
Nice.
Who are some of you were saying there are some that you kind of look at this higher level. You don't have to say anyone you don't like, but I'd love to know who like you think are the artists. Of course, Krista Fatka, of course, very funny and very smart, but
she's very funny.
Who are the folks that you are admiring out there as these kind of super surgeons?
So right now, I am in love with Beth Stelling. I think she's a brilliant comic. She's super talented. Her writing is brilliant, and it's just so good. She's so good. I'm a big fan. I'd love to be as talented and as good as she is. There's another comedian named Emily Catalano. She's out of San Francisco. She's a brilliant joke writer, super funny. It's funny. I actually wrote down recently all of my favorites because when people ask me, even though I know, you know, it's kind of like when people say, what are your favorite songs or your favorite movies? And you're like, I know, but for some reason my brain doesn't want to remember that right now. But I'll tell you, I have some, okay. So there's a comedian, and she doesn't do like stand-up. I mean, she does do stand-up, but she's not sort of a traditional stand-up. She also does like solo shows, and she's a genius. Her name is Natalie Palamides, and she just had a Netflix special called Nate. She plays one of those like, you know, kind of like not dumb, but just out of touch guys who drink beer and wear, you know, flannels, and they don't understand how to express their emotions, and they don't understand consent. And it's just so genius, and you have to watch it. It's on Netflix, but I got the opportunity to see it live multiple times. But she is just, I can't say enough about how brilliant she is. And I feel very lucky because she did a thing called the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland 2 years in a row. And both times she won awards. She won Best Newcomer. I think for Nate, or for this other show she's doing right now, which is about women's eggs, and it's all about
Oh my God, I have to see that.
eggs. She's eating. You have to see it. She plays.
That sounds amazing.
She plays a hen, and she eats her own children. You have to see it. It's genius. And so she won Best Newcomer, and the next year I think it was Best Innovative. And anyway, I'm bringing my one woman show this year to the Fringe.
That's amazing.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
In August, and she's been incredibly supportive. So I'm excited about that. But I'm going to keep looking for my list of comics because there's just so many good ones.
And
now.
your one-woman show, Merrill Means Well, correct?
Yes.
Merrill Means Well. People
Yes.
should definitely be checking that out. Are you going to bring it to the East Coast? Can we see it here at some point?
That is the plan. I mean, so I did it just to see how it would go in during the lockdown on Zoom. And I had like my whole family, a lot of my friends showed up for it. I mean, you don't have to go that far. Just open up your laptop.
You'd be surprised though.
I know. No, it's
people bail on a lot of Zoom things.
Yeah, I bet. They're like, I don't even want to move from wherever I'm sitting.
Right. Sometimes when it's too easy, it's
exactly
just that easy not to go.
So it's true. I just thought of some more comics, but we'll circle back. So I did that. My boyfriend helped me with it. At the time, he was just sort of helping me. He's also a comedian. He was sort of helping me punch up. But basically what happened was I got diagnosed when I was living in New York by a lovely Jewish, no nonsense therapist who told me in about 30 minutes that I had ADHD. And it wasn't because she just wanted to give me drugs, because a lot of people think that that's what that's about. She can't even administer them because she doesn't do that. But I told her my life was a constant hamster in a wheel, like I would get forward, move, get this far and then find myself back in the wheel again. And, I'd be working hard, but it was like I was running in sand in place. And so finally she was like, yeah, you've had ADHD your whole life. And so then I started to really study it, look at all the symptoms. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, I do have it. I have every single symptom. And I was like, damn, that makes sense. Oh God, that story makes sense. Oh God, that story makes sense. Oh, these relationships make sense. My family dynamic makes sense. I mean, just everything just came together and it was just like, oh my God. So being in my new relationship with somebody who was much more understanding and getting therapy and getting medication that was really working for me, it changed my life. There's no way I could have ever done this solo show without the support and the heavy lifting that I have now. So then I just was like, I got to talk about this, I got to write about it. And so I did the show. My mom saw it, and there's some crazy stories because my mom was abusive. Is that the right word? I'd like to say
if you say,
I mean,
so.
you're the
It's your story.
It's abusive light, but no, it's just, let's just call a spade a spade. But I was able to really, that was a very cathartic, amazing thing. And to also share with people that it's okay to have a mental illness or to have PTSD or anxiety or anything. And it's okay to take meds. Like, it's okay. If anything, it's the best thing. If it can help you live your life better, why is that a bad thing?
I always say, why work harder than you have to?
Exactly. And not only that,
same thing that you would be able to do.
I also,
right.
Just being less hard on yourself.
I also think, to your point about how the doctor doesn't want to just pump you with meds, I think it's a real misconception that that's all people want to do. The medicines are there to help you in tandem while you're developing tools and strategies, and they kind of cut through this layer of fog or jelly or quicksand that between the outside world and your tools. And by pushing that away, then you can make
do the work you need
all
to
of
do.
the work that you've done.
You're less exhausted. Also, I'm pretty sure people don't understand the difference between psychiatrist and psychologist. or therapist. And you know what I mean? Every time you say like, oh yeah, I went therapy. Oh, you know, what prescription did you get? You're like, not everybody can write a prescription. You have to go to medical school.
Right.
It's not just like, you know, just
and
not
everyone
Tic Tacs
goes
that they're
to
handing
a
out.
psychiatrist.
Right,
You know?
exactly.
You can still go to
counselor, therapist. There's like a million other options for getting good therapy.
Totally. But for me, it was like a no-brainer because I really, really struggled with functioning in any way, shape, or form. I mean, my 25th year of life, I'm not exaggerating. I did not open my mail for a year. And people don't understand how...
Your email or your physical mail?
No, my physical mail I did not open.
So I was recently, after many years of thinking I had ADHD, because I would always say like I have something. My parents are always like, you're successful, so you're just lazy. Stop, you know, because I would say, and one of my great fears is opening mail. Like opening mail is
overwhelming,
insane anxiety.
Yeah.
I went and did a neurological test recently because I wanted to classify and figure out, because again, I keep getting this reaction. We're like, well, you've done all these things. Like, what do you mean you're ADHD? And I said, yeah, but it would explain a lot of things. It would also help me.
It's your brain.
Right.
You know how your brain works.
So I took this test, and during the test, I'm doing the pattern thing. I don't know if you've ever done that. There's this thing where they give you a pattern, you got to copy the pattern. And I do this. It feels like the whole thing's a big IQ test and ladies taking notes. And I did the patterns really fast. And I said, wow, I did this pretty fast. And she said, yeah, you're one of my only people ever to have finished all the patterns in that amount of time. And I said, wait, so you're going to tell me my parents said, which is that I don't have ADHD and I'm just lazy? And she said, oh, no. You're also the only person ever to have fallen asleep repeatedly during one of the other parts of the exam, which involved like audio concentration, like very, very serious audio concentration. And so like I have like 40 answers unanswered just because I kept zoning out.
You're also a narcoleptic.
I mean, so, and then they gave me the report, and the report said something to the effect of has ADHD symptoms, you know, or needs a nap. Like it's one of those two.
That's hilarious. But if you finished that other part, that's called hyper focus.
Yeah.
So you were hyper focused on that. And so to me, it sounds...
That describes Shy perfectly.
Right.
Yeah.
Like even the way I eat cereal is hyper focused.
Everything.
I think a really good... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's how Shy is. It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
It's all the cereal or none of the mail.
For me, it was just a no-brainer because if you hear the stories, it's so extreme. And there's just too many examples where you don't have to look it up. It's just like, I know. But the thing is that is a very typical response when parents tell you you're lazy. That's a very common thing. And the thing is that a lot of people don't know is that boys get diagnosed more than girls. Yeah. Because they're physically hyper. And girls find out way later, they get diagnosed way later because usually we carry it into our adulthood. And sometimes with boys, it doesn't last. And because for some reason they outgrow it, but I've read so much about it that I don't understand how that's possible, because with women, we're supposed to have it like forever. But with me, it was just so extreme. I mean, I was always struggling. And for so many of my years, 20s, 30s, I seriously felt, this is no exaggeration, I felt like I was drunk on a daily basis. And I would wake up in such panic if I went somewhere and I said something, and because the H is like hyper decision making. It's hyper reaction. It's, I have PTSD. So if something happened in my childhood that was really weird or fucked up, I would totally tell a stranger as if I was like a Vietnam vet, and then they would go away. And I would just be like, was it something I said? It was something I did. I just didn't have I just didn't have the self-awareness, and then the talking. You talk a lot. You have to get your words out. If someone else is talking and you have a thought and you're like, I have to tell you, there's so many symptoms. There's so much involved, and you can see the brain of a regular brain, and you can see, if you look at a scan, you can see the brain of an ADHD person. They're lacking the dopamine, and they're lacking the things that they need, not just for focus, because everyone thinks, oh, it's just focus. No, there's so much involved.
Really interesting.
I've told my boyfriend
social skills and
everything.
I think people just think it's like, oh, they can't study well.
Totally.
Right?
It's
can't sit still.
Literally every aspect of your life. And
right,
for me, it was everything, to the point where you literally get so depressed because you see all your friends getting married, having children, moving their lives forward, becoming millionaires. And you're like, what is wrong with me? Like, I'm working hard, but I just feel like a hamster in a wheel. And then you get anxiety because you're like, I'm not good enough. I'm an idiot.
Right. I was going to ask how the anxiety is tied to that, and if it's better now that that part is a little bit more understood. And
right. So there's a couple different factors. First of all, we do have generational trauma.
Yeah.
If you believe in that, just being Jewish, there's generally, I don't really know any Jews who don't have anxiety or aren't funny.
But that's also because like we might have to go on the run at any minute.
Exactly. I mean, we've been
like, that's hanging in the back.
Yeah. We've been oppressed a lot, you could say. And so there's that, but also I had a very chaotic childhood. My mom had a very violent childhood. It was like really, really bad things. You'd be like, how? And then to top that off, my dad really had the opposite. So he didn't really know, he didn't know what to do or how to handle it. So you've got I can't even say it, generational trauma. You've got literal generational trauma from my grandmother, my mom, bringing domestic violence into the next year, the next group, without sort of working on it and stopping it. And then you've got ADHD that you don't even know you have. And your parents are like, what is wrong with this child? She's the only one who's always late. She's always the last one out the door. I was considered the dumb one, the slow one, because I looked like the southern part of the family, all the things. And, I got all these labels, like there's something wrong with her. Like she's the R word, but we don't know why. And then, at the time there was no ADHD, and then it was solidified when my brother and sister got into the best prep school, in Boca. And then I applied and they were like, you're going to have to go back a year. You're not good at testing. So what a big part of that was for me was I really struggled with reading comprehension. I'd have to read a page. I'd read a page and then I'd be like, what did I just read? I had to go back and read it again and read it again. And then once I got it, I was like, oh, okay, I got it. And then there was just no support. So you're going through life with, spankings and being told you're stupid and all these things and you're wrong. And you're walking through life like, I'm wrong, I'm bad, I'm sorry, I'm a people pleaser, I'm so sorry I exist. And then to top that off, you find out later that, you have this mental illness. And the thing about ADHD that also a lot of people don't know, and it's not their fault, is it does create more anxiety. It does create more depression, because the depression is, I'm never going to get it together. And the anxiety is, why can't I get it together? So, you're walking through life feeling like the biggest loser. Your brother is a doctor, is a scientist, your sister gets into pre-med. And then I was going to acting school. So that did feel good. I look back and I go, wow, I went to Cal Arts. That's so huge. But I never got that kind of, wow, you're amazing from my parents. Right. Never. Wow. I never got it. And then when I finally really dove into it, every phone call, no joke, was, you don't need actors. You need nurses, you need lawyers. And I'd have to beg them, like, please support me. This is such a hard business. If I don't have your emotional, well, we support you. We give you money. Okay, but I need your emotional support. Wow. And so I had to fight that on top of everything else I was already fighting. So, you know, and I love them. I forgive them. I don't carry all that anger and blame because it's just a waste of time. And, you know,
it's a pretty big deal. I mean, you don't have to get into it. I'm just saying that's an incredible achievement. Because
to forgive them,
and just you're like, yeah, okay, I forgave them. I'm, you know, but that's pretty amazing.
Well,
I think that not everybody
lot of work to get there.
I don't think everybody, not just anybody. My husband had a very difficult childhood or young adulthood, and he has amazingly has relationships with both of his parents, which I admire the fact that he's able to do that, because I don't know if I would be able to do that. And, he didn't have therapy in the traditional sense. He found his own kind of way in his path and hit my,
through martial arts, that was
through martial arts, which is a type of therapy.
Champion.
But my ex-sister-in-law used to say, she's a psychologist, and she used to say when she was dating my brother-in-law, she used to say, I don't understand how these boys are not like in jail, or or how are they both like stand-up citizens and, you know, able to have jobs and stuff with what they went through. And he always says to me, it's so much better for me to forgive them and have whatever relationship I can with them as adults than to hang on to all that and be consumed by that.
Yeah.
And I think that's extremely admirable.
I mean, it took me a long time. I was definitely consumed with it, and it was holding me back. And then the therapy, the meds, really in the last few years, because I have an amazing therapist, it really, the work started to hit me. And then one of the biggest things I learned was, you know, if I want to be successful, it's like the best analogy I've ever heard is if you're trying to park a new car that you want in your garage and there's an old shitty car in the garage, you can't park that car in there. You got to get that car out. And that's the thing.
That's a beautiful analogy.
That's great.
It's just so true. And the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I mean, why am I not making it? Oh, because I'm so angry. And then I was like, if I'm so angry, I'm really just hurting myself. Like I'm carrying that poison around. And my mom is going to still be a narcissist. She's going to still be a borderline personality disorder. She's still going to have all that PTSD. And if she's not going to get diagnosed and she's not going to get medication, she's not going to change. So if I change, then let's see how that goes. And that actually made all of my relationships better. It's not easy. I still have to work on it. I still get triggered. Yeah, I just spent 5 days with my mom fucking moving her house. Neither of my siblings showed up. And, you know, the excuse is, well, they have kids and they have work. And sure, but they also have a partner and they also have help. And so they could have taken a day or two to come. And, you know, it's all on me. And like, you know, I'm brave. Because, you know, there's going to be that third day, that fourth day that you're with her that goes back to that old fucking pattern. And you just have to be so strong not to go, okay, psycho, okay, crazy bitch.
Or like I'm leaving.
I have to go back to this? Yeah. So it was hard. I mean, we had, you know, she's just, there's things wrong with her, you know, and she does that thing where she twists the knife and she wants to, and she doesn't even know she's doing it. And then, you know, I lose my mind, and thank God we had only 1 hour of that, but it was the first time in my life I called her an asshole, and I feel bad because she's in her 70s, but I couldn't do that back in the day. She would have thrown a dagger at my heart, you know, we were terrified of her. And now I'm a grown woman and I'm like, you can't act like that. You can't talk to me like that. I'll get on a plane and I'll leave.
This is the advantage of having Lily in our house growing up. Not that our parents weren't, or it was not the same relationship, but I remember when Lily got old enough I didn't talk back to my parents that way. Lily, like as
our
soon
parents
as Lily
can be
turned
scary. That's
14 or 15, Lily started saying that stuff to our parents. And it was like a kind of a revolution in the house. Okay. So Merill, thank you.
Middle child.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Yeah, it's so insightful.
People,
Thank you.
I think there's so many things. We always talk about it on our show. when someone gets really specific, it feels so like you can connect to it so much, even if it's like not your story. There's something so amazing about when someone's this honest, and I feel so connected to your story in so many different ways. It's really cool, and I'm sure there will be people. And now we also always promise people some pop culture, shenanigans. Okay. And so,
I hope this wasn't too dark and too depressing.
No.
I think it's uplifting.
We have a 2
It's very uplifting. Yes, because not everybody is willing or interested in doing the work that you put in.
Yeah. I mean, we also did a 2-part special on Lily's fertility stuff. So
sometimes we do.
Every once in a while, we're serious
about that.
We'll send
you the episode. Sometimes it's good to get deep.
So.
Can I just throw in 2 really fast things? I know we have to go, but I just want to throw in some positives.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about going through all of that, I think, is you learn to have an enormous amount of empathy for other people. And that's something that's really missing. You have this like school shooting, and there's people who literally are just like, it's fine. And so you learn to have a lot of empathy for others. You learn to care about others more. And then the other good news is that, I forgot. That's where the ADHD does come in.
That's sometimes, okay. Empathy. I mean,
if it comes back, you just
jump in. You're in good company.
I'll raise my hand.
So we talked a lot about the effects of anxiety. And I don't think we'll have time to go through the whole list, but we had a few famously anxious characters from movies and film. And we have a rating system on the show, which is buy, rent, and meh. There's actually one below meh, which is bleh. But that's if you really don't like something. So buy is the highest, rent is the middle, and meh is actually up to you how you define it, because we don't really want to have a lowest category. So that's only bleh. So I'm going to throw out a character, and you tell me whether or not you buy, rent, or meh. If you don't know them, just let me know. I'll skip over. Okay. So do you remember What About Bob?
Yes.
Remember Baby Steps, Bob. Yep. What about Bob? Like, so, so if you were to say to me, buy, rent, or meh, I would actually give that character a bleh. Not because it's bad, but because that character, the anxiety that character has, triggers me. It makes me so anxious that I could not watch that movie. Like, that movie still freaks me out, but it's obviously a great performance. But what do you think of Bob Wiley in What About Bob?
I mean, I would buy it because I think that, I think they're both geniuses anyway. But to me, it can be really hard to watch stuff like that. But I also think for others who aren't triggered, I mean, I don't know. We still have such a problem with people understanding mental illness. But just to go back, I would say I would buy it just because it was also hilarious. As a comedian, to me, that's,
things still have to be able to be funny, right? Okay, how about, did you ever see Inside Out, the Pixar movie?
I did. I loved it.
Yeah. Becky's husband was one of the key artists that worked on it.
Really? Incredible. That's awesome.
So
it's a great movie.
Bill Hader voices.
I cried.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Hader voices fear in that, sort of the ultimate expression of anxiety. What'd you think of that one? Little purple guy.
I mean,
you can't put Riley in a cookie.
You're referencing brilliant.
You can buy them all.
Comedian artists, like to me, Bill Hader is also a genius. That thing he does on SNL where he's like doing the
Stefan.
I mean, honestly, I could watch that every day.
I have watched hours and hours and hours of that.
It's just, he's brilliant. So of course, I'd buy that too.
All right, Lily, Becky, do you have a favorite other one?
So it's not on the list, but I have a favorite other one.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
So, do you guys? I'm sure you remember Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Melvin Udall, right? Isn't that?
Sorry for the dogs.
No, that's okay. We all have dogs.
Yeah.
And that to me is such a buy, because while some of his anxiety kind of makes me nervous, because I'm like, oh, I should be anxious about that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't step on the cracks. Like,
right.
It's a bit contagious sometimes. The sort of the growth in that character and the empathy, like that being the key word, between him to other people, like living outside of his own anxieties and neuroses and obsessive compulsiveness, to be able to empathize with other people because he's so obsessed with his own, and then other people to him, like he seems like this heinous person who's just really struggling.
Totally.
And I was one of my favorite depictions.
It's a great one.
It's great. I mean, the movie is brilliant. It's one of my favorite movies.
Same. I really
the thing it's funny you say that, because I just, like I said, spent a week with my mom, and she's like a nightmare to spend lots of time with, only because she's wonderful. When people meet her, they're like, I love your mom. She's so fashionable. She's so cute. And I'm like, just spend some more time with her. She's affected, and I don't know if this is an OCD symptom, but she's affected by every single thing around her. So it's exhausting to be around her. She'll be like, that song is too, where's that, sound coming from? Da, 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 da. And when she drives, she drives very aggressively, and she'll say, why is that person smoking? And she'll put so much energy into other people and cellular. And then on top of that, she will be very rude at times and very demeaning to people. And I don't even think she's aware of it. Like, she'll say, like, I'll be with her and she'll say something awful. Like, we had some guys working in the house, and they put their music on, and my mom walked in and she goes, that's just the worst music I've ever heard. Can you just turn that off? Like, it just doesn't even
no filter.
It's so funny because, and she'll straight up insult people. She'll be like, duh. And she thinks she's being like with them, but she doesn't understand that she's insulting them. And so when I think about the reason I thought about Jack Nicholson in that role, literally a couple days ago, was because I thought, what does she have that she insults people constantly? And I went and my mom did very generously get me a massage after I destroyed my back. And I went to this woman and she's like, I've known your parents for 20 years and your dad was so lovely. She goes, but I hope this isn't too rude to say. She goes, you're nothing like your parents. She goes, they're so intense. And I was like, tell me about it. And then every person I met that knew my mom said, I just don't want to disappoint her. And I'm like, how do you think I feel? I'm her daughter, But I mean, she's just a lot like that character. But there's no really turning the key. There's no OCD in that regard. But just everybody affects everything they say, everything you do. If you say something and she's like, even if you say something nice, if you say something like, if she says, I'll drive or something like that. And I'll say, Mom, are you sure? And she'll say, don't say, are you sure? Of course I'm sure. And it's like, she just gets so, I don't know how she hasn't died of a heart attack. I mean,
it's a lot of energy.
Stressful. Yeah. It's very stressful.
That is a lot. Well, that's such an awesome, that's a great interpretation of each of these characters. And it's awesome that they can all be buys. All right.
Okay.
Let us move to our shout outs and recs. I am going to make my first recommendation is going to be on May 28th at 7 p.m. at the Lyric Hyperion in Los Angeles, right? Am I right in that?
I wish we could all go. It's a little bit far. I wish we could go.
Witch Hunt, which seems to be a comedy evening hosted by Merill Davis, which this looks amazing. So Krista Fatka is on the list, correct?
She is.
Who
She's
is
on the
amazing
lineup.
and hilarious.
Yeah.
And then someone who I only discovered like recently because of a show that I watched, but who I have it's like a artistic crush on, not like I'm not a romantic one, but like an artistic crush, which is Alice Wetterland in Resident Alien is like the heart and soul of that TV show.
She's amazing.
Like if I would love to get a chance to see her perform, but I've
been doing stand up with her for a long time.
Oh, really?
I mean, like,
just give her like a hug for us.
Sure.
Okay. Just tell her there's these kids, there's these siblings who think you're like super brilliant and talented. And like that's another example. I didn't know she was a stand-up until after I started following her, but her drama on that show is like genius.
So good.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about stand-up is, you start with a lot of people in the trenches and the open mics, and you bomb and you do shows together. And then a lot of my friends are on series now. And so that's been especially UCB and sketch and stand up in the last, it's always been, you look at Robin Williams, you look at Jim Carrey, they all end up doing dramas as well. And I think there's no way you can't be good at both unless you have no interest in acting, because there are stand-ups who they're not great actors, but they also don't really want to act. And the people, the comedians who do, when you think about it, you had to have a lot of trauma to be funny. And so there's no way it's the same, what is it? The same side of the same coin, or opposite sides of the same coin. Like comedy is drama and drama is comedy, and people separate them. But really at the end of the day, the best comedies have dramatic undertones and the best dramas have comedic undertones to me. Because it gives you nuance and it's not one note all the way through. Depends, of course, on the genre, but that's how I feel. But anyway, just to get back to Alice, she's amazing. And just to see your friends over the years, where they go in their careers and what they end up, is so inspiring. It just inspires me. And I believe that if, I believe that you're an energetic match to the people. If you're like, ooh, I love that, then you're meant to do that, So, even if you don't pursue it, if you did, there's a reason you want that. There's a reason you feel that way, So that's what I believe.
That's really cool. Well, that show, we wish we could be there in person. Maybe you'll
thank you. I wish you could
come east with either your show or
I'd love that.
That would be so great. And then my other Rex, Kids in the Hall Comedy Punks documentary is now on Amazon Prime. It is so cool, and it's a great lead into the reboot of the show, or the reboot, I don't know, whatever, the extra season they just made, which was very weird and very funny, that I watched last week. And then I feel like I'm mom and dad because I'm up on Bosch Legacy, only a couple episodes left. And then I started The Lincoln Lawyer, because even though they're half brothers in the novels, but they'll never meet in the TV universe like the way X-Men and Avengers used to be before Disney owned everything, I feel like I need a hit of the Bosch world. So that show is actually, I'm enjoying quite a lot.
To see that.
Lily, what are you watching?
So my very dear friend Amanda knows my algorithm pretty well and recommended this adorable teen rom-com, but more on the rom, I guess, than the com. British show called Heartstopper on Netflix. It's so good. Sweet, about just teen angst and sexuality, and it's basically like sex education, but actually for kids, like actually for teens, because sex education is definitely for adults. It's not like a show I would allow a teenager to watch. Whereas Heartstopper is a very sweet. I think it's like 8 episodes about a boy.
I saw a preview for that.
Yeah, it's really, really. I think it's very well done. And Olivia Colman's in it, but in a pretty small role. She just plays like a mom, one of the kids' moms. But the scenes that she's in are, of course, she knocks it out. She can literally just say hello, and you're like, oh my god, give that woman an Oscar. Yeah. So she's amazing. She's amazing. And it was. I thought it was really well done, and I hope a lot of kids see it, which is basically like my vibe, like a good YA situation. It's what I like for literature and television. So I thought it was very sweet. And then I'm also an older woman in the sense that I finished Bosch, the series, because now they have a new Bosch. And I finally finished the show. It's like 7 seasons. If you're into like a hard working detective out in LA solving crimes and not saying very much, then this is your show.
A lot of smooth jazz and looking at the canyon or whatever.
He's always like staring at LA. LA is dark but very bright place. That's like the whole show. But it is great. It is super fun. Titus Welliver is just amazing. And then I love Working Moms. Catherine Reitman is, to me, amazing. I don't know why.
I need to write all these down.
Yeah. She is Catherine Reitman, the brother of Jason Reitman, correct? Show?
She's the sister.
Sister?
Sorry, Jason Reitman's her brother. She's the sister and the daughter of Ivan Reitman. May he rest in peace.
Yes.
And she's amazing. And I love that show. I love her. I just think she's amazing.
What show is that again?
Working Moms.
Okay, I'm ready.
And it's Canadian. It takes place in Toronto. It like owns the fact that it's Canadian. It's not pretending to be New York City.
We didn't mention we grew up in Montreal, which is like a whole other sub.
Oh my gosh,
sub context of everything.
Canadian
content.
Well. That's amazing. So then Just for Laughs. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes,
like before,
we do.
Just for Laughs was that was just sort of like part of our city growing up. We didn't know it was important.
Right.
I didn't know it was important until I saw the Seinfeld documentary, and I was like, "Oh, really?" I just thought like people would stop in our podunk town. I remember being so excited when Weird Al played when I was 10. It was like the greatest moment ever.
I just submitted to JFL. I've submitted many times, but I haven't gotten in yet. But that's okay. I'm not.
Well,
it's one of the many things.
Maybe as locals, we can write you a letter.
Give you Montreal vibes.
Just tell thank you.
All the Montreal vibes for Just for Laughs.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So those are my recs.
Right.
Nice.
And Beck, and then Merrill will.
Oh, I've been watching. I think it's on Showtime. I've been watching.
It is on Showtime. The show that you're about to see.
Vanessa Bayer and Molly Shannon. I love that for you, I love that for me. I love that for you. I love that for me.
It was so good.
So one of her most genius things ever is Jacob the Bar Mitzvah Boy in SNL, and I made a room full of non-Jews watch that, and it was like blank stares. And nobody understood any of it, and I think they were afraid to laugh. Like they were
so funny.
So I just every time a new episode
Jewish
comes out,
is it?
Maybe
but it's not like Jewish.
Yeah,
no, like overt.
It is.
Yeah, because her parents. Yeah, because I forgot what they say, but she is.
But whatever it is, it's done
subtle
and
exactly.
Tastefully. But it's I savor every episode that comes out. It's like the highlight of my week when new episodes come out. So I definitely recommend that. And we have had on this podcast, we have had a star of HSN on before, our dear cousin Ashley. So shout out to Ashley, and we got to have her back to talk about I Love That For You.
Yeah,
that's amazing. That's so cool.
My dream is always that there be a show about home shopping, so I can't wait to watch the show.
It's really good.
And I'm not going to recommend it, but I will admit that I've seen it, which is the new season of Bling Empire. So again,
I've only seen part of the first episode.
Not recommending it, but I'm just going to admit that it's been on in the background.
Is it a real show, a reality show? What is it?
It's a reality show.
Is it just like
Crazy Rich Asians, but the real version?
It's not the series of the Bling Ring that movie.
No, it's just like people who like you think you know what people who have a lot of money is. Like you're like, oh yeah, that would be having a lot of money.
But I got to tell you,
own all the streaming services for real, not borrow from people. I got to tell you, that would be somebody rich. And then you watch this show and you're like, holy shit. That's what people do with money.
Season 1, there was at least 4 different shamans. Season 2, you got one feng shui guy. There were no shamans. Why am I watching these people if they're not hiring shamans all the time? So not as good season 2. Not enough shamans. That was like
they should be hiring a kitchen healer.
Oh, or a kitchen healer.
I don't know what that is.
It feels like it sounds like
something that somebody should hire.
But yeah. So that's it.
That's what you got. All right, Merrill.
And I'm actually rewatching Last Kingdom because I can never get enough Uhtred. So rewatching that. Starting from episode 1.
It's a great show.
So Merrill, what do you have?
Okay, so there's a limited series that I saw that I think is brilliant called The Dropout.
I started it. I started it.
It's really great.
Watched it. I watched the first episode. I have a date with a friend of mine who physically comes over to watch it together like old times.
I love that.
And so it's going to take us 6 years to watch it, but we've seen the first episode.
Right. Unless they spend the night, you do a
right, and let's go all the way through.
Yeah. So I think, of course, I didn't really know. I mean, not of course, but I didn't really know that much about that Elizabeth Holmes story. So it was actually better that I didn't, I think. And then
Right.
Amanda Seyfried is just she's got to get an award for this role.
She's amazing.
It's worth watching if for anything, for her performance in it and what she captures in the most awkward moments of how this woman was in the, the whole scenario. So anyway, I highly recommend that. I really, really love Pen 15. I never ever thought I would. I remember seeing the first episode and going, this is stupid. And then my boyfriend was like, you got to watch it. You got to watch it. So then I watched it and I was like, oh my God. And as I said, I love, the undertones of drama. To me, it makes it real. And the second season, I was like crying my eyes out. And then you really get to know these characters as a full character, multi-dimensional, as they say. And it was just great. So I highly recommend that. And it's super funny. I mean, there's moments that are just ridiculous when we laugh so hard. There's a new show that I just started watching with my boyfriend called The Other Two.
Yeah.
I mean,
we are.
For us,
in fact, I almost referenced it when you brought up the fact that you're like, I sent them a tape, but they must have not watched it because they thought to themselves, oh, she's professional enough to send us a tape.
Right.
Probably haven't gotten to that episode yet where,
well, have you gotten to the episode where
he's writing a script?
Where he's writing a script? What's his name?
Drew Tarver.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But his name is Carrie in the show, right? When Carrie is writing a script, when he decides to become a writer Have you gotten to that? Okay. So when you get to that,
I saw him do improv a few weeks ago with Ben Schwartz. And they were, and two other people who I'm blanking on the names, Eugene Cordero, and then Sloan from the show with Kristen Bell. I'm terrible with names. It's amazingly funny.
From the woman in the window with the
her friend.
Yeah, that lady's funny.
She's very funny. Anyways, I saw the four of them, and Drew Tarver was incredible. They were all so funny.
Funny.
The other two is great.
But
we are very big fans of that.
What makes that show amazing why we love it so much is the sibling relationship is so real there. Becky and I had the podcast at Baltimore Comic-Con, and so during the we were exhausted, right? The whole day you're pitching and interviewing, whatever. And then we'd come back to the room and I'd be doing the editing, and all we do is order room service, and we watch that whole show.
It's just, we were dying. We were watching it last night, and my favorite characters, I love, there's so many typical things oh, I booked it. I booked the role, telling the whole party. You walk into a Starbucks in Hollywood and everybody's like, so I'm trying to finish my script, and it's super loud, and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, please. I could never write in that environment. So stupid. It's just so.
Wait, which part of the show are you in? We need to take in a
second. So I don't remember what part we're in. Oh, it's very, my boyfriend's much further than me, but because he loves it, he started watching with me.
I watched it twice.
So we're at the part where they're staying at Justin Theroux's house. And it's just and all of his shoes are basically all the same.
The furniture is all made of concrete.
Yes. And my favorite part
sleeping on a pool chair
are the the boyfriend Vince is fucking hilarious, and then the roommate, we're just crying laughing about him. He's so clueless, but he's a genius. He's so funny. The whole thing is so damn funny. And then I love That For You. I'm enjoying that as well. Her character is so fun, and I'm very, very critical because I want to see okay, where's this going? Is this going to be good? And so when I started to watch it, I was like, okay, I get her character. And then the more I watched it, I really enjoyed it. And of course I love Molly Shannon. And then the last one is Killing Eve, which you have to I'm not really good about violence. I never was, because, you know, I grew up in a horror movie. But my boyfriend he didn't grow up in a horror movie, so he loves horror movies. And so, but this show, I've never seen the kind of acting that Jodie Comer brings. She's really wild, phenomenal,
and scary.
And scary. And of course, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is one of the writers on it. And I think she even is like an executive producer as well. But anyway, cut to go back, just to circle back to Fringe, and then I'll shut up, is Phoebe actually had her show Fleabag at Fringe Festival.
Oh, wow.
And that's where it was discovered. And she brought it there herself. She did, you know, GoFundMe, which I'm about to do with mine. And
oh, nice. All right. Wait, is it live yet?
Not yet. I'm going to do it.
Let us know when it is.
Well,
I will.
Reserve us in your list of people to push it.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll say is Olivia Colman wanted to do her show. So, you know, I mean, could you ask for
anything?
A better...
Anything can happen.
And so her show got made. But I wrote a pilot about Merrill Means Well.
Wow.
And it takes place in downtown LA, because I used to live there. But anyway, that's what I want to do. I want to get this show seen. I'm going to be performing it every day for a month.
Wow.
At the Fringe Festival.
In Edinburgh?
Yes, and I have to fill a 65-seat theater every day. Every day.
What are the dates of that?
What are the dates?
So I go August 1st, but the first show is August 5th. And it goes to August 27th.
Interesting.
Well, you and Becky should road trip to Scotland when you're in the Canary Islands.
Merrill, that'd be amazing.
Merrill, you should, if you want to relax for a weekend, the UK places all send flights to very cheap.
This is true. We'll be neighbors.
I would love. I mean, don't have to twist my arm to go to the Canary Islands.
Right? You just pop on down.
I would love that.
Yeah. Lily, Beck, you can totally do it. You can totally do an Edinburgh. Bring mom. You should bring mom to Edinburgh for a weekend. Mom loves Scotland.
I love that for us. I'm already I love that for us. I'm already taking another trip in my summer trip that my husband might divorce me if I keep taking trips on trips. But I do love that for us, and I want to go to Edinburgh. So we'll see maybe what we could eke out.
And there's shows 5 nights a week or 6 nights a week.
It's every day. So the festival goes all day long, and I'm sure they do that in Montreal as well. So because I submitted kind of late, a lot of the programs were already full, but I got responses from all these wonderful theaters, and they were like, we love the look of your show. But they only had certain slots left. So the one theater I ended up choosing, my first week, it's from like noon to 1. It's only an hour show. The second week, it's 1 to 2. And the third week, it's like a good time. It's like 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. more prime time.
Well, by then you build up some buzz.
I was going to say, it's good that the third week's like that, because I'll really have it down. And my boyfriend's directing it, and he's so good.
Oh, that's awesome. So you both be out there?
He tours with Ali Wong. He's more famous than me, but he's very, very talented. So,
but is he gonna post up in Edinburgh with you for the?
He's coming later, because he's working on a musical right now as a dramaturg. For he's American Filipino. Well, his family's Filipino, and so they're working on a musical about the labor rights of Filipinos in the history. And so they're trying to make a Hamilton, a Filipino Hamilton. But anyway, he's working on that. So the first week he can't come, which I'm bummed about, but he'll come like later. And then we might travel to Canary Islands at the end. We'll see what happens.
We'll all be there at the end of August, like the entire family.
Exactly.
So if you want to hit the water park with all of us, Lily's.
Oh, you're all going at the end of the.
Yeah, because there's a direct flight from New York.
Becky's spending the summer there, and then my family is coming.
I leave in a couple weeks. I'll be there for 3 months.
Amazing.
Yeah.
At the Canary Islands for 3 months.
Yeah, she's coming to hang for the summer.
That's amazing.
So it's just like a skip, hop, and a jump from Scotland.
I gotta say, I love that you guys are all close. I really love it.
Well, I mean, in the story of the
you.
show, I was the one who I used to work with the government, and I always wanted to start a podcast. And when my time in the government was ending, I was like, okay, not in the government anymore. I feel like I can be more open publicly. And I said, I'm going to pursue my dream of starting a podcast. And I was talking to Lily on the phone, trying to figure out
almost every day.
I mean, we were talking. I talked to Lily and Becky, particularly.
Oh
Lily
my God!
every day.
Yeah,
every day.
Yeah,
I call every day on my way to work. I call Lily, and then we'd always talk about whatever movies and TV we were watching and stuff like that. And then I said to Lily once, as we were breaking down probably Sons of Anarchy or some show like that, and then I said, "Wait a minute, I think this is the show. Let's call Becky and make sure she's in it too." And thus that became that's the origin story of the show. 4 years later, we haven't missed a week, or we missed 1 week on purpose that we shut everything down for one specific week. But aside from that, we have not missed a show, and probably have done more than once a week. I mean, Lily and Becky have both given birth at the end of one episode and then been back for the next episode.
No way. That's incredible.
Famous story. I recorded an episode, went to the hospital, had a C-section, and was back for the next episode.
Oh my God. That's incredible.
That is accurate.
Seriously, that's amazing.
I was very hungry that morning when we were recording, so I wasn't allowed to eat prior to the C-section. I just remember that.
Very dedicated. Very dedicated.
That's real dedication.
Okay, Merill Davis is going to be at the Fringe Festival, and who's going to be at the Lyric Hyperion this weekend.
Yes.
Where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram. That's my main source. It's at Merill on the wall.
Such a great.
I love that.
I'm jealous of people who have such smart names
I love it.
for their.
I just was thinking, like, this is a portrait app. And then it's also a very narcissistic app. But anyway, or it can be. But yeah, I promote all my shows and most everything on Instagram, and then my Facebook is Merill Davis, and my Twitter is Merill Davis. So yeah,
cool, awesome. All right, and that'll all be in the show
I'm putting
notes.
Together a website.
Cool.
Only a million years later. Yeah,
all the links will be in the show notes. So
thank you for having me. I feel like I talk too much.
No, it was amazing.
Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for sharing and opening up, and
perfect.
Can't wait to see your show.
Oh, I can't wait for you to come. I'm excited. And yeah, l'chaim.
Lily, where can people
Tomorrow
follow you?
Is Shabbat.
That is true. Lily, where can people follow you?
And this episode airs on Shabbat in the morning.
So excited.
Before Shabbat.
I mean, all the episodes come. Well, the weekly episodes come out on Friday. That's the main episodes of the week.
You can follow me, but I think not much. You won't be following very much on Twitter. It's not very much to follow. Chichi K Gomez, CHICHI Gomez, and Merill. You can follow me on Instagram, but nobody else can.
I'm going to.
Just Merill.
Lily and Becky are locked down on Instagram, but
yeah, can't handle that kind of anxiety. It's too much anxiety for me.
Paper BK Princess.
Sorry, go ahead. Becky.
No, they add Paper BK. It's better you talk over me. It's not worth saying my Twitter handle.
I want to hear.
There's nothing.
No, tell me so I can follow you.
Don't. Okay. At Paper BK Princess on Twitter. But yeah, you know what? You can follow me, and the joke's on you, Merill. So
your Instagrams are.
But you can follow me on Instagram. I just don't do my Instagram handle on here. But there's at some point there's going to be a breaking point at some point.
The thing is, I just want all the likes. So
yeah, I'm already following you.
I'm already following you.
Okay, I want to follow you guys back.
You don't have to follow us back. We don't want to mess with your ratio.
No.
With your ratio.
You by the way, when
it's like all three of us plus the podcast, it's a lot. It's like
everyone should know, like some of our favorite people follow Merill back. Etta Divine follows Merill, and she's one of our
she's great. I love it. She's
one of our she's one of our all-time favorite
friend of the pod.
Yes, friends of the podcast.
Gabe and Etta have been on many times.
They used to do the Merrill Davis show back in the day when I had Chelsea Handler on it. I had Natasha Leggero. I had Whitney Cummings. I had, you name it. I had them on my show when I first started. And they were on it all the time. It's just, they were so good. They're so funny.
They are so funny.
Yeah.
That is awesome. We love a lot. They are just the
They're
most
great
people.
Yeah.
And you can follow me at Pancake and the number 4 table, Pancake 4 table on Twitter and Instagram, at Friday Night Movie for all of our podcast shenanigans, or FridayNightMoviePod.com, where you can sign up for, we're just about hitting less than twice a year newsletter, which is, I feel like this is what people want when they sign up for newsletters, as little newsletter as possible. And the theme music is by What Does It Eat? And we'll dance our way into the evening. Thank you so much to our guest, Merill Davis, for being here.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Merill.
It was such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Wait, my husband and I were driving home, and it's like we were an hour away, and he's like, come on, we gotta go. And he's like rushing me. And I'm like, God, okay, like, let's go. And as we're driving, he's like speeding. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And he's like, I only have my prescription sunglasses and it's getting dark. I can't see.
That's hilarious.